what's poppin'? It's Zach Lesage here from the Shuffle Squad. Today we're going to be covering over the top 10 Pokemon TCG decks from Paldea Evolved. Now, some of these decks are completely from Paldea Evolved or new archetypes from that expansion. Some of them are from previous expansions that have had upgrades to their deck. One of the big cards we've received in this set is Iono, a card that is allowing you to make comebacks based off the amount of prize cards both you and your opponent have. One of the most hyped cards for sure. Another hyped card, Chien-Pao EX, being able to knock out anything you want. Will they make the list? We'll find out. We'll see if the thumbnail's misleading, deceiving, or if it's accurate. Let me know in the comments your best guess for the top 10 decks. Whatever order you want to put in, we'd love some feedback there. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and again, we'll see how it goes. That being said, we are going to jump into our top 10. This is going to be number 10. And before we jump into it, I do want to say this is a very early list. Things are subject to change, but I think I got it pretty right. Let me know what you think. Let's jump to that number 10. Jumping into our number 10 spot is going to be Ting-Lu EX with Giratina EX. Now, when it comes to these like bottom 10 spots or like the 7, 8, 9, it's kind of hard to place, but these cards somewhat should exist within this realm. And I mean, there could be variations of these decks that could very well be their own, but I think we got this list pretty accurate to where it should be for now. Ting-Lu EX says, as long as this Pokemon's in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon that have any damage counters can't use their abilities except for Pokemon EX. So EX Pokemon can use their abilities. Any Pokemon with damage counters on your opponent's side cannot use abilities. We have Land Scoop that allows us to play some damage counters around, but we also have Hawlucha and Radiant Alakazam that allow us to move damage counters and place damage counters. We also have Gape Drop Bog that allows us to play some damage counters. So I think with a lot of interesting maneuvers to place damage counters, stop your opponent's abilities, the new Spiritomb stopping bench Pokemon V from using their abilities. I believe it's Pokemon V. Again, these cards are a little bit new to me when it comes down to it. Basic Pokemon V don't have any abilities. That's what it is for Spiritomb. So we have ways to power it up with Giratina EX, the Ting-Lu that is. We have ways to spread damage counters around. We have Squawk ability to pitch our hand, hopefully getting some fighting energies in this card. I did cover a deck profile of this, and a lot of players and commenters were like, yo, Zach, where's your Gutsy Pickaxe at? That might have been a bit of an oversight. I'm not sure if I like it better or not than Trekking Shoes, because I was playing with my wife the other day before our League Cup, and the list seemed to be running fine, so I think somewhere around here is generally the vibe. This deck can shut down things like Chien-Pao in an instant by placing damage counters on Frigibacks before they evolve. You could shut down decks very quickly with this deck. Might not have the best Gardevoir EX matchup, or might not have the best maybe like Arc Dura matchup or something like that. But overall, I think it has a solid place in the metagame. So this one might be too low. We'll have to see how it goes. And all the lists are available in the pinned comment. If it's not, there's no pinned comment. If it's just not there, if you're watching this on any other platform, you can screenshot this and use that to get access to the list. So when you can build it on PTCG Live or in real life when the set is fully released. What's going to be our number 9 pick? Find out next. Jumping into number 9 is Giratina. Now, Giratina won a regional championships in our Scarlet Violet format, but how will it fare out in our Paldea Evolved format? So as you can see, the early of our format, or the beginning of this format, should just be kind of blending things together. Like we see cards like Chien-Pao are good, Ting-Lu is good, Iono is good. But at the same time, we have Giratina won a regionals, and maybe Gardevoir won a regionals, so I don't want to surprise anyone, but I would expect on this list, if you're a viewer, to see some previously existing decks kind of handshaking with some of these new cards. And that's really what we got going on here. Not too much new stuff has been added, where we're just using Iono here and Jet Energy to kind of improve upon a previously existing deck, or at least attempt to improve upon a previously existing deck. We're going to be slapping up energies onto our Arceus, accelerating energies onto our other Arceus and Tina V-Star. And we have Bibarel. Bibarel seems like it actually went stonks here because we can have an answer against a late game Iono or late game Judge or Roxanne. But mainly Iono is the new card on the block, so we want to make sure that we're prepared against that. So kind of like a half built-in Melodic. I know there's a few people that are saying that could block an Iono. At least we have to draw some cards afterwards. most of this deck is built to set things up. We do go with a Cleansing Glove because I think Gardevoir is going to see a little bit more success. We'll catch on that a little bit later as a bit of a precursor. Jet Energy, we decided to kind of V-Guard Energy from the list for Jet Energy. Sometimes you have a double Turbo and an Arceus, don't have another energy in hand, so if you're going to be using Starbirth, you could Starbirth for a Jet Energy and bring up the Arceus active to accelerate energies. Not necessarily the best card in the deck, not necessarily the worst card in the deck, but it is a cool addition to have kind of a third foe switching out. And I think that that's, overall the list seems solid. I think if you're like a player that's playing Giratina, you could transition to this format pretty easily. If you aren't, then maybe this is a deck you want to try out. It's seen some success. Got a few regional top 8s under its belts, a win. Maybe it could see success for you at NAIC. We'll have to see how that goes. But next up is going to be our number 8 deck. What in the world could it be? Absolutely breathing some frigid air here into number 8 is Chien-Pao EX, one of the other new cards on the block. So you can see here we got the Shivery Chill. And if it's in the active spot, you can search for 2 basic water energies, put them into your hand. That's something that you could discard with Radiant Greninja. That's something that you could accelerate with Baxcalibur right beside the Chien-Pao, that is. So kind of like a Blastoise from past formats. Now we're in the future. We got Baxcalibur. We can accelerate a bunch of energies, and we can blow things up with Hail Blade, doing 60 times the amount of energy from each of the Pokemon you decide to discard. You don't have to discard from just Chien-Pao, you can discard from anyone in play. We do have a Bibarel line that's thin, so we can kind of be Iono-proof. We can kind of draw some more cards if we need to. We also have Origin Form Palkia V-Star that allows us to accelerate energies back. We have a secondary attacker. So we have something that's weak to lightning. We have something that's weak to metal. We also have Radiant Greninja. Like, this deck seems like a pretty solid water deck. Probably similar to any of like the Ice Rider Palkia decks or Palkia decks that we've seen kind of pop up since we lost Inteleon. This deck's probably placed well there. We do have 4 copies of Iono. So Iono, both players, you count the amount of prize cards you have, you shuffle your hand, put it at the bottom of your deck, draw that many prize cards. Here I think it's really good for us to have shuffle draw, and we have ways to just manipulate our opponent's hand size in the late game. So if they're down to 1 prize card, shuffle draw 1. And you could maybe make a comeback there. So we got a lot of cool things. 4 might be too much in this deck. We'll have to see. Another cool card that we don't get to see every day is Skater's Park. We can just kind of retreat and get the energy back into our hand, which works great with Excalibur and everything else that we have going on. So we have ways to accelerate energies. We have ways to search out energies. We have ways to kind of power up from the discard pile, snipe. I think this deck has a lot of cool things going on. Might be kind of like a water type Miraidon is kind of where I'm placing it in this metagame. We'll see if I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong because this deck is right up my alley. I think that Lost Box decks are a gatekeeper to this format. So that might be one of the reasons why it's a little bit low. But as those may rotate out in the future, this could see more success. We'll have to see how it goes. But I think it seems like there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. So, and I'm really happy with how this list turned out. What's going to be our number 7 spots? I don't know. Take your guesses. We'll find out really soon. We're just going to go kind of roll through this list. But I love taking that pause, take the guess with the fam in the back. We'll see how it goes. Here we go. Number 7, we got Mew VMAX with Fusion Strike. Shout out to Dre from the Shuffle Squad. Dreoxys, baby! We got the Deoxys in the deck, and they've been playing it for a while. Everyone's kind of catching on. I think this deck is appropriately positioned. Took a second to get that one out of me, and I'll tell you why. I think Mew should normally be a little bit higher, and this deck's all about accelerating our draw power with Genesect. We can do extra damage super quick with Meloetta. We have Deoxys to do well against Lost Zone Box, Lost City. We got like answers across the board, but mainly we copy attacks with Mew VMAX. We got Meloetta and Deoxys as part-time attackers. Genesect's getting those draws. Why is this deck not within the top 4 decks in format? Well, we do get Spiritomb from Paldea Evolved, and this kind of piles on the list of answers to Mew. We've seen in previous formats where there's Umbreon VMAX, and we've seen it with Drapion V. We've seen it with just any kind of dark attacker, really. Path to the Peak. Now we got Spiritomb that says as long as this Pokemon's in play, basic Pokemon V in play, both yours and your opponents have no abilities. No more Genesect abilities. Might be tough to kind of draw out of. And that's one of the things that's really holding this deck back. Anyone can slap a Spiritomb into their deck and make it a lot more difficult to be a Mew player. I don't want to say impossible, because Mew's proven itself in a field of Drapion Vs and stuff like that in the past. I think there's a chance here to see some more success with Mew. It's really more of a metagame call. Is there going to be Spiritomb and Drapion, or is there not? If there's not, then we might have a chance, but Spiritomb does suck to run into, so that is one of those things. If you are a Mew main, I wouldn't necessarily jump into it in this next format, but if you think the metagame's shaping up well and you have some proof to back that up, then by all means, go for it. I think this deck is hot. I'll have to see what our number 6 deck is. We'll be getting there in a second. Put your best guesses below. Say them out loud. Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't already, give this video a like. It does help boost the algorithm. And if you haven't supported us in any way, think of ways that you can support us. Maybe check out our Metafy link so you can watch more of the Shuffle Squad's content as well. We're almost halfway through this list, but at number 6, we got Lugia V-Star. A new way to play Lugia with Paldea Evolved is Colorless Lugia. Now, you might be like, yo, Zach, why? Why are we playing this? Why did we play Single Strike before this? And that's a solid question. We gained a few new special energies in Paldea Evolved, namely Jet Energy, Therapy Energy, and Reversal Energy. Now, Jet Energy says when you attach this from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon, you can move that Pokemon to the active. And that's pretty cool. Therapy Energy stops some special conditions, which is good on Snorlax. It's good against other random things. And Reversal Energy can be played on a Stage 2 evolution or an evolution. Not entirely sure on the wording off the top of my head, but we slap it on Luxray in this deck. And Luxray is a card if we're behind on prize cards. We could beam it down from our hand. So we have an answer for Mirror. We have another single prize card attacker. Seems generally powerful. So the goal of this deck is going to be using Lugia V-Star, getting a couple Archeops in the discard pile, summoning them back, and accelerating special energies to our various Pokemon. Here we attack with Snorlax, Lugia itself. We also have access to Luxray, and we have access to Weirdeer and Drapion. So we got answers against a lot of things. We do gain Iono, and instead of playing Penny like a lot of these lists, we do play a copy of Thornton, so we can get back Drapion. We can get back Snorlax, Weirdeer, stuff like that. So we got a lot of ways to really like power up a lot of powerful attacks. And that's one of the things that's made Lugia always really good. So here, instead of just having single strike Pokemon, we have a few more tricks up our sleeves. Is this better? Only time will tell, but I conservatively put it at 6th because I think it probably stays around there. Lugia is probably within the top 5-ish decks, and I say ish because I'm still trying to figure it out. I think we're all trying to figure it out and see how the metagame goes, but that's what we've got late nights coming up for. We'll have some Paldea Evolved tournaments going on, so check those on the Play Limitless website if you haven't got a chance already. And we'll have to start seeing as players start experimenting with this format, but Colorless Lugia seems kind of hot. We'll have to see if it lives up to the hype. But is number 5 better? I think so right now. Let's see how it's placed. Let's look at number 5. Here at number 5, we have one of my favorite decks in format, and that's Arceus V-Star, Duraludon VMAX, and Umbreon VMAX. Kind of saw this deck pop up at the first time at the Portland Regional Championships. Saw a little bit of success at the Niigata Champions League in the Juniors Division. And I think that Dura Umbreon is just, like, sick. We have ways to block special energies, we just saw with Lugia Colorless. We have ways to accelerate energies, and Umbreon can gust things up. Dark type's pretty relevant with Gardevoir and Mew in the formats. And we got the cool Hawlucha, Radiant Alakazam, Single Strike, Choice Belt package to kind of get some weird numbers working with this deck, so we can get big knockouts with Duraludon VMAX. Now, this deck's already seen success, and I mean, the whole strategy is really accelerating energies to insert V Pokemon, V-Star, VMAX Pokemon here, and roll with it. We either use our big HP, our Skyscraper ability, type advantage, or we just try to claw our way through the matchup somehow. This deck's pretty like well-rounded, can sometimes be inconsistent, but we did cut the judges that we previously played in this deck for Iono, giving us a little bit more draw, hopefully throughout the game, and more comeback mechanic going out throughout the game. So I think the deck gets a little bit better. Although you do have to worry about new threats like Chien-Pao that might be difficult. However, their HP threshold might give you a chance. At a recent League Cup, I was able to go through Miraidon EX deck pretty. I don't want to say easily, but I made it through. You know what I'm saying? So I think Chien-Pao is kind of the same vibe. I'll have to see how it goes. But right now, I think that this deck is super interesting. Kind of mid of the pack, but it's definitely a metagame call. Like, you could have a hot day with this deck, and I think it might become even a little bit better. I might have placed this a little bit too low, trying to figure out the new metagame, but I think it's solid. We're about to jump into number 4. We're getting into the top 4 now. Pretty heavy hitters. I think from the top 5 up, you could just guarantee there's a lot of great decks on this list. I like almost every single deck on this list. So if you're looking for some top decks, I'd say looking anywhere from the top 5 up, you're gonna have some real great success, and you could toss in any of the variants of other decks like Lugia at any kind of variant might be good. So we'll have to see how it goes. But we're getting some heavy hitters. Grab a drink, get a snack. We're gonna start talking about some sick decks. Let's jump into number 4. So we see our second Lugia deck of the video. So here we have the same kind of Lugia strategy. We're going to be getting out some Archeops in the discard pile, summoning them up, accelerating energies. Although this time we're playing a single strike package with Tyranitar V, single strike Urshifu VMAX, and Yveltal. This deck's seen a lot of success at recent regional championships, mainly Portland regionals and Hartford regionals. And I think that the list that Regan Retzlaff and Grant Shen has played is basically the core deck of what we want to be playing. And that's why I placed it a little bit higher than Colorless Lugia. This deck has a little bit more options when it comes down to it. Or it's a little bit more solidified, I should say. Less options, more solidified is what I want to go with. We basically cut out the judge for Iono here and called it a day. We also replaced a couple of the energies for jet energies, so we have a little bit more mobility here, so we don't instantly lose to a control deck, and we can kind of bounce back from the bench, maybe reducing our energies that we're playing to retreat. And we do get access to some strong attacks. So I think Iono and Jet Energy really do add a lot to this previously existing super powerful deck. And I don't really see too much to change it. Like, Yveltal is strong against Gardevoir, it's strong against Mew. Single Strike Urshifu VMAX is strong against Duraludon VMAX, and Mirror, and Tyranitar V can pretty much knock out whatever it wants. So I think the addition of Iono and Jet Energy is good enough for right now. And you'll see that that's like where this set kind of goes. In a lot of these decks, it's Iono and Jet Energy are good enough, or Reversal Energy and Jet Energy are good enough. Like, that's a lot of what this set's come down to. So if you're looking at a set for the first time, I'd almost argue to say that it's better to look at the trainers and the energy then look at the rest of the set, because the trainers and energies are usually where it's at. Those are usually going to be the majority of your deck between those two, and it gives us a lot of opportunities to make some cool op lists. What's going to be our number 3, we'll see. I know Lugia can be a little bit plain old and boring, and maybe that's going to be the case for a lot of these decks, but we'll see how it ends up going. Number 3 is definitely a deck that I think a lot of you are going to enjoy. Coming in at number 3 is Giratina V-Star Lost Zone Box. Now, this deck has a lot of cool things going on for it, and you might be like, oh, yo, why is Tina coming back? Well, Tina is a deck that has a lot of resistance against Iono, and I think that's something that's really cool. Like, we have opportunities to Iono, and then we can Tina if we get stuck out of our opponent's Iono and use its effects to draw some cards or get out of it. We also have a lot of HP, so if they go Iono, they might not be able to get a knockout. We might be able to go Tina, attack, get Iono'd, and then attack again the same turn. Other Lost Zone Box decks might not do that, so having a little bit more HP in this deck, having Tina V's first attack to accelerate our draws after an Iono could be huge. And of course, we could play Iono ourselves, so playing some really good cards is really good. The goal of any Lost Zone Box deck is to get the right amount of cards into the Lost Zone. In this case, we want to get 4 in the Lost Zone for Cram, 7 in the Lost Zone for Mirage Gate, and 10 in the Lost Zone for Sableye, and for Tina V-Star's V-Star attack. We did add in a Spiritomb here, so typically a deck like this would run Drapion to beat Mew. I think we could get away with it with Spiritomb and really just run through Mew ourselves that way, and turning ourselves into more of a Lost Zone Box deck, using Tina when we need to. I also added an Iono, so we have a little bit more shuffle draw, and we have those Jet Energies, so we can use it from the bench to the active. That's going to allow us to get in a few more flower selectings if we really need to. So I think that this kind of hybrid take on a Lost Zone Box deck has a lot of cool things going for it. Really like how the list looks on paper, I don't think there's too much that I'd want to change about it. And that's one of the things that I like when it comes to like looking at these new lists is, does the list look right? This list looks right. So that's why the earlier decks are seeing success right away. The Tina deck, we already know what a Tina deck looks like. I changed a couple cards. I added in some new things. Took my fundamental skills as a deck builder, applied it to this deck, plug and play. We have a very capable deck immediately. Like World Championship deck printed quality of a deck right now, before the set's released. That's something you got to consider. Is the Chien-Pao deck that I posted, it looks really good, but it might need a little bit more refinement. This list looks sick. So I think it's one of those things where we're going to see a lot more of that when it comes towards the upper part of this deck. And I think the number 2 deck is just slightly better than here. We'll go into the number 2 deck in a little bit more detail because there's some things I want to go over there. But shout out to Tina for making it all the way at the top. I know my pal Isla Sutherland is going to be really happy with this. She's been playing the deck for a while, so shout out to her. She's been playing it for a while. I love when players play a deck and then it gets better for them because I'm so excited to see how they do. But let's jump into our number 2 pick. Here we are jumping into our number 2 pick. We have Lost Zone Kyogre, and we have a couple new techs in here. We have access to Luxray, which we've seen in at least one other deck, basically being able to power it up. In this case, we're not using Reversal Energy to power it up. We don't need to be behind on prize cards to power it up. We can power it up with Mirage Gate. So just like that Tina deck, we're going to be using Comfey to power up 4, 7, and 10. So 4 when it comes down to Cramorant, 7 when it comes down to Mirage Gate, and 10 when it comes to Sableye. Mirage Gate can easily power up any of these Pokemon, but mainly we're going to try to power up any of our Dragonites, Luxray, Kyogre, Raikou, or Greninja. You can see that the energy line reflects that. And each one of those has a case where we want to knock out like a Lugia, or we might be behind on prize cards and try to knock out a Lugia with Luxray, or we might use Luxray in Mirror. We might use Greninja to try to snipe a couple Comfeys in Mirror if they don't have Manaphy down, or a couple Frigibacks against a Chien-Pao deck. Dragonite V can definitely do some heavy damage, maybe get a knockout on a V Pokemon. And Kyogre is a game-finishing card. Now, the other cool new card that we get for this type of archetype is going to be Artisan. So it allows us to search our deck for a non-rule box Pokemon, put it onto our bench. So we can get another Comfey turn 1, making the deck a little bit more consistent. Now, half of me says Artisan's very good, half of me is telling me Pokestop might be better in this deck. And there's the argument that I wanted to kind of talk about. Is Lost Zone Kyogre just the best deck to be playing Lost Zone with? And I think the answer is probably yes. If you don't, you might have a slightly better mirror matchup, but you have the slightly worse matchup against a lot of other decks in format that are not prepared. The Kyogre is a really skilled part of this deck on top of all the Lost Zone sequencing and stuff like that. So while I would have liked to put another Lost Zone deck on this list, and it probably would have placed within the top 5 or like 6th place, just because it's fundamentally better than Ting-Lu and stuff like that, there is the argument that they just look too similar to this, and I'd be cutting the Kyogre and adding in a few other tech cards that are non-Kyogre, and then that's it. Cut Pokestop, cut Kyogre, add in Artisan or Beach Court, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's really similar. So overall, I think that this is just a solid take on Lost Zone Box. If anything, I'd look towards Caleb Gedimer's list from Milwaukee and see if there's any changes you want to make towards that. But realize that we do get Super Rod that allows us to shuffle back in our energies and Pokemon, giving us a lot more mobility when it comes down to Kyogre. A lot of options there. So I think with this deck, having those options with Super Rod, Jet Energy, all that, like, there's a lot of options, and I think that makes this deck more skill-based, it makes this deck better, and it was already super well positioned, arguably the best deck of the Scarlet Violet format. But that being said, where is our number 1 pick? If you have a guess, let us know now, because we're about to jump into it. We're about to jump into the number 1 deck in the Paldea Evolved format. Again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tune into more content from the Shuffle Squad on YouTube and Metafy. Let's see how number 1 goes. Here we have it, number 1, Gardevoir EX. Now, Henry Brand just won the Milwaukee Regional Championships, and we're only a few short weeks away from NEIC. That being said, Gardevoir is on people's minds right now, and this list does improve from Paldea Evolved. Namely, we get Drifloon, which we already have, but what makes it better is the Charm of Courage or Charm of Hardness. I'm not sure what it gets translated to into English yet. That gives us extra 50 HP for our basic Pokemon. Now, we could slap that onto the Drifloon, giving it 120. We could place damage counters on it with Gardevoir's Psychic Embrace. And with the Champions Festival, very expensive promo. At the time of recording, it's like $300 to $400 US for an English copy. Maybe about $100 to $200 for a foreign language copy, and I've seen numbers of like 1,000 plus for the Japanese copy. There's a lot of cool things you could do, but basically you could heal the damage counter from Drifloon, which allows us to put ourselves from an even number to an odd number, which allows us to do 330 damage with Drifloon as a single prize card attacker. And we also get Iono in this deck, and we also get Super Rod in this deck, and we also get Reversal Energy in this deck for Gardevoir. So the whole goal is to get a bunch of energies in play from either the discard pile. You could use Refinement, discard things, discard energies, accelerating them with Gardevoir's Psychic Embrace, and attaching to our Pokemon however we see fit. This deck seemingly has answers for everything when it comes to a bunch of one-of supporters, when it has answers to disrupting your opponent's hand, when it has answers to drawing cards, when it has answers to accelerating energies, big damage attacks. You could do whatever you really want when it comes down to this deck. I think that this deck is, it has it going on. Sure, it can suffer a little bit from a tough Lost Zone Box matchup, as we saw as Henry just won Milwaukee against Caleb Gettimer playing Lost Zone Box. It's definitely possible to win. So with that being said, I'm probably going to rewatch that stream finals about a bajillion times before now in NAIC, learn to see where Henry's lines of play were so I can get as good as Henry, our 2019 world champ, and see how they played the matchup, if there's anything that I could apply to this deck. That being said, I think this list has a lot of great options going on for it. We might want to cut an Iono for a Roxanne, and we could kind of play around with the line a little bit, maybe cutting a Boss for a Serena and stuff. You could tech this deck up a little bit because you have a lot of draw with Kirlia. We have Palpad to get things back, but overall, we got Gardevoir as our #1 pick. Again, all these lists are available. You can either screenshot from this video, and if you're watching on YouTube, we do have the copy and pastable lists from, it's either in the description or in the pinned comments. So be sure to check that out. I really appreciate all y'all watching. Let me close it out. And that's what we got going on for this video today. Did I get the top 10 right? Is Gardevoir the best deck in format? We'll only find out soon. With the North American International Championships being the first time for everyone in the world to be able to play with these cards simultaneously, we'll have to see if this list is accurate. Is Gardevoir going to win NAIC just like Henry Brand just won Milwaukee? We'll find out. I hope this early list helps you understand this new format, have access to some lists, and be sure to check out all content from the Shuffle Squad and myself in order to find the best information about Pokemon TCG available. We put a lot of effort into it, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. By all means, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more great content. Again, this is Zach Lesage from the Shuffle Squad. I'll catch up with all y'all next time. Have a great one. The Shuffle Squad proudly uses Ultimate Guard products. We think that their Cortex and Katana sleeves are absolutely fantastic with to play in tournaments. And of course, they have a wide range of products that are simply fantastic. Whether you're looking for a new binder, playmat, or if you're looking for one of the Sidewinder deck boxes you might have seen one of us play with, be sure to check it out. They have their EU web shop, and it's available on Amazon elsewhere. Head on over to atlascollectibles.com and support the Shuffle Squad by buying some of their products. You could get a discount of 6% off of Pokemon TCG booster boxes, so you could grab from a large selection of sealed product, save 6%, or you could save 12% by using code TSS12 on all of their Pokemon TCG singles. Atlas has a large selection and ships worldwide, so be sure to pick up your Pokemon products there. Use code TSS5 at ptcgostore.com to save 5% off your order of Pokemon TCG live codes. They have a great selection of codes available from all different sets at competitive rates. They get instantly emailed to you, so you can use them right away to get all the cards you need to build that next great deck creation. Again, use code TSS5 to save 5% off at ptcgostore.com. Have you ever wanted more content from the Shuffle Squad? Well, we do have a Patreon account. You can support the Shuffle Squad directly by pledging towards our content, whether you want to get access to a special discount code from one of our sponsors, or if you want to have access to all of our deck lists, exclusive Pokemon TCG articles, and more. You can even chat with the Shuffle Squad in Discord. So this really does help support the Shuffle Squad getting to more events, and we do have some amazing articles for you to learn more about. Be sure to sign up to play in the Shuffle Squad's late night events. They happen every single Tuesday night at 12 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern. We have one that's geared towards more of an EU time zone and an NA time zone, but anyone's welcome to play. There's an opportunity to win a trip to Japan for the World Championships, so by all means, feel free to participate in these events for free. You could check out any of the links that we have available in the description. Get coaching from the Shuffle Squad on Metafy. If you want to improve your game on Pokemon TCG, you can absolutely test with the best. We have some of the best players in the world on our team. So whether you want to get coaching from Calvin or our current EUIC champion, Alex Szymanski, or anyone else that's available on Metafy from the Shuffle Squad, pick up some coaching today, become the best player you can be. Thank you so much for supporting the Shuffle Squad by watching this video. It would mean the world to us if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even leave a comment. You can also click on this other video from the Shuffle Squad to continuously watch and support us. If you haven't got a chance, check out the description to learn more about our sponsors, and that could also help support the Shuffle Squad. Thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a great one.